it was really disappointing because it's a really cliche.
It's a rich person thing.
Played out criticism of the black community that, ironically enough, it started because he was talking about Bill O'Reilly, who you would totally expect this kind of criticism from, where he's saying that O'Reilly originally said there's so much violence and chaos in the black precincts because of the disintegration of the African-American family. So that's obviously a really hackneyed, cliche analysis of why there's violent crime.
He left out because a white cop shot the kid's dad.
But like poverty is a huge issue, and it leads to widespread violence, and it's not race-based. Like, if poor communities were the poorest communities in the United States, they would have the most violence. And historically, that's always been the case. Like, when immigrants come to this country, whether they be like Italian, Irish, whoever, when they live in poor ghettos, there's a lot of crime.
Well, and it's also not just because like black people like won the unlucky lottery, but you have generations still reeling from slavery, Jim Crow,
right?
All these, you know, discriminations with schools, with colleges, and even though that's not there, these generations have been playing catch up for so long. And not only that, but now you still have the best schools, the best resources are going to wealthier neighborhoods, institutionalized racism, hiring discrimination, all this stuff.
So Don Lemmon says O'Reilly doesn't go far enough.
Oh, that's the opposite.
In his criticism of the black community. And he actually starts to go into this bizarre rant about sagging pants. Right. And he actually recycles a myth involving gay prison sex, which is so disappointing because it manages to be racist and homophobic.
Oh, I didn't hear that
all
part.
at the same time.
What is that about?
So this is a direct quote. Sagging pants, whether Justin Bieber or no-name Derek around the way, walking around with your ass and your underwear showing is not okay. In fact, it comes from prison when they take away belts from the prisoners so they can't make a weapon. And then it evolved into which role a prisoner would have during male-on-male prison sex. The one with the really low pants is the submissive one. You get my point? That is not true.
It's weird.
That has been disproven time and time again. The whole sagging pants thing does have an origin in prison culture, but it's because the clothes didn't fit the prisoners right, and they would sag down. So that sort of segued into like rap and hip hop culture because it was like an homage to
where are you going with that,
prison
buddy?
culture. But here's what's so disappointing about that. It's like he is a gay man of color, and he is being racist and homophobic in his critique of this, what's essentially a cultural dressing choice. Now, you know, like, you might not like it, but is it the end of our society as we know it? No, it's really not that big of a deal.
Like I've always said to young black youths that I see on the street, hey, pull your pants up and then be born into a country that doesn't have class discrimination. Go. And then I carry them into my time-traveling car.
Oh, you're carrying now?
Yeah,
you don't have to be carried?
With black people, I try to be a hero.
Okay.
And then I go, white savior! And I throw them into the car. And then I put on the gas. And then I forget I don't know how to make a time-traveling car. And then they crash into a wall. And then I run away. So, I'm wanted on several hate crime charges. Because I was trying to help. Here's the problem. You're probably thinking, well, you were racist and homophobe, but I'm a white lady. And I feel left out. Good news! Don Lemmon on Twitter, while trying to...
Oh, there is so much more.
Oh, of this?
Yeah, so much more.
So should we save the woman?
Yeah, I don't know where you're jumping to, but I can't even get to all of it, but there's a couple points I wanted to hit. He goes through a list. He's like, blacks, I know you're going to be mad at me, but here's how I feel. Here's what's in Don Lemon's heart. And he goes like number 1, number 2, number 3. So I'm not going to go over all of them, but a couple that jumped out at me that really annoyed me. He said, number 3, respect where you live. Start small by not dropping trash littering in your own communities.
Hey, I have a thought. Maybe if the government put fucking garbage cans.
Yeah,
in the
like
corner.
this really annoyed me because Jamie and I used to live in a really poor community in Queens.
There are no garbage cans.
There's no garbage cans. It's not like poor people like living in their own filth. There's literally no trash cans. So
and a couple people will kind of go out of their way to like put like trash bags on like their fucking like gate.
yeah,
But like
that's all you
it was
can
just
do.
a dangling fucking garbage bag.
Yeah, and also, I mean, if there's a lot of poverty in your community and you see terrible things happening in your community, it's not going to instill you with a sense of community pride, you know? So that annoyed me. Number 2, he says, you want to break the cycle of poverty? Stop telling kids they're acting white because they go to school or they speak proper English. Here's the thing. We're American. None of us speak proper English.
No.
How I'm talking right now, this is not proper English. This is just a dialect I happen to have.
I think you forgot the nickname we gave him. Sir Donald Lemmon speaks the Queen's tongue.
But that really annoys me. Like, it's a lot of victim blaming, right? And we'll get to the more victim blaming in a second.
Well,
but
really quick, I want to go back to number 3 because I actually wanted to talk about this, but I can at least briefly promote the article. There's a great article by my friend Erica Nicole Kendall at Salon, and it's called "America's Food Debates Are Just White Men Talking," and it's always framed as Big Food versus Michael Pollan. Always, 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 always.
Right.
And the article highlights a community garden in East New York where all these people of color were saying, you know, there are rotting apples at our bodegas. We can't get healthy. We can't do anything. So we're going to take it among ourselves. And we're going to build these gardens. And things like that are happening all over the place. And you want to know why it's not growing more? Because networks like fucking CNN, where Don Lemon works, don't cover these stories. Right. Because they always have Michael Pollan or Mark Bittman or these fucking white elites come on and talk about it. And it's like, guess what, assholes? There are people trying to do something about their community. You just don't give a fuck about them because you're not going to those communities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I would much rather hear from the person who's building a garden because her fucking grandma died because she's been living on bodega food her whole life than Michael Pollan, who can afford fucking organic goat cheese. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I don't give a fuck.
And that happens with every issue. There's always, like, the white elite gatekeepers to come on, you know, with very few exceptions that I can think of. Most shows, when they talk about like labor disputes, something like Fast Food Forward, they invite on the white journalists who are covering the story. You know, that includes me. I was invited on shows to like talk on behalf of movements and stuff like that instead of inviting on the activists, instead of inviting on the workers and hearing directly from them. There are, you know, a very few exceptions that I could think of, like on MSNBC, Chris Hayes, Melissa Harris Perry, their shows, they invite the workers on to talk for themselves.
Real quick side note, which one of you monsters signed me up for ChristianBook.com mailing list? Because I'm not happy about it. I've deleted 3 already.
So, are you sure it wasn't you? As a joke?
Maybe it was the Lord himself.
So, about this speaking proper English thing, this is especially annoying because we've just come off of the George Zimmerman trial where Rachel Jeantel was basically talked down to by white middle America when they said, you don't talk right, so we think you're stupid.
It was scared white people coming. I don't get it.
Yeah, meanwhile, she was just speaking in a certain dialect. She speaks 3 languages, which is more than the average American.
It's more than most people criticizing her.
And she just has a different dialect. It's not that she's not speaking proper English. There's no such thing as proper English unless you speak like the Queen's English, right?
When I talk to somebody from Fargo, North Dakota, I assume they're a monster and I want to run away.
Right.
You're not used to certain things.
It's just that we're used to, in media, hearing a very certain type of dialect, and there's employer discrimination where sometimes employers say, you look weird, you talk weird, I'm not hiring you. That doesn't make that right or just. That just makes it discriminatory.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you're acting like if a black person who lives in the ghetto suddenly bought a pair of khakis and started enunciating more to your liking, that suddenly, you know, their community would be like, all fixed.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, in order to be confident, you need things to, I don't know how to explain this, but I did not become confident. I did not become compassionate. I did not become any of these things until I started to become more successful, because I was fucking miserable and I was fucking scared. And you can't expect them, because you don't litter, that's not going to get you a job. That's not going to fucking feed your family. You give this person a job, you treat them like a fucking human being, you make it so they can fucking afford pants to Don Lemon's likings, then you're going to see a change in attitude.
This is what annoys me about the Don Lemon thing, because essentially what he is saying is you need to act white in order to survive, and not addressing that statement in itself is a demonstration of institutional racism.
Right.
So Chloe Angel had a awesome tweet that I retweeted it, and it's a perfect summary of this. You need to change your behavior so I'll stop oppressing you is the definition of privilege.